Hello, ladies and gentlemen. For you guys that don't know who I am, my name is Shook. I make NBA DFS content, sportsbook content, prize picks content, anything you can think of, I do make content for. All these videos, they get posted to this subreddit. I'll have it linked down below. I make updates with all the news that comes out throughout the day. You can ask me questions leading up to lock about the slate. So I will have that link down below. Then if you ever need to get a hold of me privately, you can get a hold of me on X right here. And if you ever want some free sportsbook plays, I do post sportsbook plays on my Twitter. We nuke sportsbooks today. I posted these Packers spread, alt spreads, ladders. Those all cashed. I posted Kelly Oubre over 11.5 points. That cashed. And then I also post some in my Discord as well. So, yeah, or if you just ever want to talk to me, that'll be linked down below. And then if you're looking for more in-depth content, I'll have my Discord link down below, where I go over the slate privately. I give you guys player pool. I give you guys core. Anything you can think of, I do in my Discord. Sportsbook, prize picks, all that good stuff. So that'll be linked down below as well. All right, I don't think I'm going to cash tonight, but my core today was... What was my core today? What was my core today? Jared McCain bust. Kevin Porter Jr. smash. And then Domantas Sabonis. Think he's busting, but I actually got off Domantas Sabonis. But my flag plant in GPPs today was to fade Yershon Yabusele. So hopefully people have a big night fading Yershon. And, you know, we always like to try to get better around here. Even myself, talking to you guys helps me get better. But so let me explain my reasoning for wanting to fade Yershon Yabusele. It was mainly a game theory slash matchup thing going up against the Clippers. Yabusele matches up really badly with the Clippers, especially up against Zubac. So I thought there was a good chance Drummond would start, and even if he didn't start, I thought there was a good chance that Yabusele would get played off the court, and that ended up being the case. Drummond came in early. Yabusele got benched early. Usually he plays until that 3-minute mark in the first quarter, but he came out at the 7-minute mark. And then Andre Drummond picked up 2 quick fouls, went straight to the bench. Yabusele comes back in, and then Yabusele gets subbed to start the second quarter, losing minutes. Andre Drummond picks up another quick foul, so 3 fouls in 7 minutes. Yabusele, if Drummond didn't get into foul trouble, would have only played 8 first half minutes, and then you guys know the rest. Like, Drummond's going to have to play most of his minutes in the first half, especially if they're losing, because he can't really space the floor. So in the second half, you know, the blowout, they're down, can't space the floor. So, like, he wasn't going to play that much with losing by that much. So, yeah, it felt like the read was perfect. Yabusele busted hard. So hopefully people win because of that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have a bad day. I can tell you guys my lineup. James Harden didn't play the fourth, was in my lineup. Kevin Porter Jr. he smashed. Cam Thomas, I swapped to Nets. Cam Thomas, Zaire Williams, Ben Simmons I swapped to. Like I said, Kevin Porter Jr., James Harden. And then I also played, who else did I play? Who else did I play? My brain's going blank a little bit. Evan Mobley I played. And then Jared McCain. Yeah, Jared McCain. So, yeah, don't think I'll be cashing tonight. Hopefully you guys had a great night, though. But let's go over the slate. Let's go backwards. I feel like, you know, going backwards. Let's do that. So, great spot here for the Knicks. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns, assuming he plays tomorrow, I think it's one of the better spend-ups on the board. Great spot going up against Denver. Denver has just been absolutely bleeding points to opposing centers. This is an elite matchup here for Karl-Anthony Towns. You know, his rebounding's just been absurd clip this year. Great spot as far as offensively goes for him. I think he looks phenomenal here. I think Jalen Brunson's a decent pivot if he wanted to. He's kind of found his stride of late. She'll play big minutes. So, like both the top two guys, but preference Cat over Jalen Brunson here. I think like all the mid-range guys seem a little bit priced right, but like I have no issue if you want to play any of them. They're just playing huge minutes. They're all stat sheet sufferers. Well, Josh Hart is anyway, and then OG can grab some rebounds. Same with Mikal a little bit. I think they're all decent mid-range plays. I think Josh Hart's always just going to be my favorite. He's going to play 40 minutes. Has double-double upside. He can facilitate. Like, he's around a fantasy point per minute guy. So you give him that 40 minutes, he's going to average close to like 40 fantasy points. So until he's near that 8K mark, he's still a little bit too cheap. And yeah, OG, Mikal, they're fine too. And I don't mind campaign for value as long as Miles McBride remains out. Campaign should see low to mid 20s minutes. Great point per minute guy off the bench. So I do like me some campaign for value. Now, if we get Karl-Anthony Towns out, I mean, we know what they did last time, right? They started Jericho Sims. I believe it was the 15th up against Brooklyn. He was smashing, barely played. They went to Huck Porty for 30 minutes. I mean, I don't know what to do. Both bigs would be firmly in play. I would not feel confident in any of their minutes, but I would expect them to split the full 48 here, which would make both firmly in play as a value play. Now, if everyone's just going to go to like Huck Porty, I'll just go to Sims, right? But yeah, tough situation if Cat gets rolled out. And then Brunson would look phenomenal. And then all these secondary plays would look great too. Then I really like McCall. Then I really like OG. Then I really like Josh Hart. Like the Knicks would get a huge bump if Cat is off the court. Just so much more usage to go around, right? Moving on to Denver. I mean, yeah, Jokic looks phenomenal. He's always one of the best spend-ups on the board. I mean, his usage rate this year is just absolutely elite. No Aaron Gordon as well, so Jokic looks great. I think Jamal's still a little bit priced right for my liking with Jokic back. Same with like Michael Porter Jr., even though he still can have big games at this price point. I just think he's not really, like, for him to break this league, he needs like 50 plus. I don't think that's going to happen more often than not. So I still think he's fine, but priced right for sure. And then not loving too much else here. Braun is fine. Peyton Watson's priced right. I guess Strother is fine. Should see around 20 minutes, but I feel like we'll just have better value opening up later. All right, let's move on to Portland. Clinging out, so that shoots Robert Williams to one of the best values on the board. I absolutely love Robert Williams tomorrow. Keep an eye on Jeremy Grant. That would open another great play in Denny. I would expect Denny to move in the starting lineup if Jeremy Grant's out. Would really like Denny if that's the case. Aiton's doubtful, so we already went over Robert Williams. And then we also have Scoot Henderson at 4.9K questionable. If he's out, it's going to be a bump to Sharp and Simons. Good spot here going up against Memphis. They seem a little bit too cheap for me, so I like those two guys in the mid-range. Not going to get to like a Kamara. So like main interest here is I really like Robert Williams. And then if Jeremy Grant's out, I really like Denny. And then I would really like Simons and Sharp if Grant's out. And then if Grant's in, and Scoot's out, I still like Sharp and Simons. If Scoot is in, it's mainly just like Robert Williams for me, and then Jeremy Grant would be a little bit too cheap, and then top guys would be in play as well, but wouldn't be as amazing as they would be with those guys out. Moving on to the Clips. So yeah, I think James Harden's a good play. I think there are other spin ups I'd rank above him. Like you have a lot of great spin ups on the board. Like I think Cat's one of the best. I think Franz is great too. I think honestly him versus Franz is like really close for me. But price point's down. Fine spot here going up against Boston. Like I don't hate it at all. It's actually a decent spot for him. Was absolutely nuking tonight until the blowout. So like the ceiling's just massive there. So Harden really solid spend up. Zubac at 7K. I mean, another guy just got cucked by the blowout tonight. Should play all the minutes he can handle in this spot going up against Boston. Like his ceiling quite a bit. He'll probably be somewhat popular tomorrow. The values, I think will have better value, but like KPJ, I think is a good value. Chris Dunn firmly in play. Derek Jones Jr. had a massive game tonight. Little bit of an outlier. All these games are outliers, but he's playable for value. Mo Bamba will get the backup 5. I feel like we'll have better value though. Main standouts here: James Harden, Zubac, and Kevin Porter Jr. for me. Moving on to Boston. Everyone healthy here. Al Horford, he played big minutes. This is a cup game. They ran an 8-man rotation for the cup game. I don't think we're going to get that many big minutes in this game. It's not the cup game, right? Tuesdays. I believe Tuesday. I forget what days they are. But yeah, Tatum, I think is fine. Spend up doesn't rank like as highly as the others for me. And then like Jaylen Brown in the mid-range, I think is okay. I actually think I prefer the price point on Jaylen Brown than I do Tatum. Jrue Holiday still seems a little bit too cheap to me at 5.3K. She'll play mid-30s minutes. Don't mind him. Derek White, same kind of thing. Like, this team's just bland for me in DFS. Like, I never get them right. I think they're all fine plays. I think my favorite play, price adjusted, is probably Jrue Holiday. Then Al Horford should see around 30 minutes. I think he's solid value at 4.8K as well. All right, let's move on to Dallas. Luka's going to remain out here. Fantastic spot. If no one's going to click Kyrie Irving up against Atlanta because he's almost 10K, I'm going to be all over that in GPPs. Love Kyrie Irving in GPPs. I think P.J. Washington's a really solid play too. He just has to play big minutes right now. Number 2 on offense as well right now. He looks really solid to me. Really solid point per dollar play. Klay Thompson, he is a ceiling. I don't mind that. Great spot for him. You could see him explode tomorrow. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford should kind of split the center minutes. I prefer Derek Lively to Daniel Gafford. Quentin Grimes has been starting, but been a little bit bad. Playable value, and then Najee Marshall will see big minutes off the bench. And then I do want to note one thing. Jaden Hardy basically was a DNP tonight. He only played 9 minutes. They played Spencer Dinwiddie a ton. Now, I don't know if it's going to continue to happen, but if they're going to give Spencer Dinwiddie this much run at this price, I would really like him for value. I do think there's a little bit of risk involved, though. But yeah, that's one thing to note. A little bit intriguing for tomorrow. All right, fine spot here for Atlanta. I think similar to James Harden, Trae Young does seem a little bit too cheap for me at 9.2K. Just tough spot here going up against Dallas. But stuff in the stat sheet, shots have been down of late. Trae's always a guy that like when he's injured doesn't show up in the injury report. So I'm wondering if he's like dealing with some type of injury or something. But yeah, should see close to 40 minutes. Stat sheet stuffer, gonna chuck. I don't mind him. I think he's decent. Still think he's a little bit too cheap. Same with Jalen Johnson. I mean, he's low owned every single slate. Just absurd production right now. Great rebounder. Probably gonna get you a double-double. Still averaging close to like 12 potential assists per game. So he's stuffing the stat sheet. Like Jalen quite a bit. Capella, Okongwu should split the center minutes. When you give him the price points, I do prefer Okongwu to Capella. Now the price points down, I think Okongwu is actually solid value for this slate. I'm not going to go to Bog or Hunter at those price points. All right, let's move on to the Pels. So DeJounte Murray questionable, CJ McCollum is, or DeJounte Murray doubtful, and CJ McCollum is questionable. If CJ is in, I'm just going to skip this team. Fine spot going up against the Pacers. Now, if we get CJ out, definitely have some interest in some guys. We got to keep an eye on the Missy news. Daniel Tice started for Missy, and then Jamison got the backup 5, but they didn't split the center minutes because they were going up against the Warriors. Warriors kind of went small. I also think there's a spot where Pacers could go small too, and you might not see the full 48 for both the bigs, so I'd be a little bit wary of the bigs there. Starting lineup was Brendan Ingram, Trey Murphy, Javonte Green, Daniel Tice, and Alfred Payton. So if we get that same starting lineup and we get Alfred Payton starting once again at 4-2 and playing mid-20s minutes, like him quite a bit for value. Like I said, with the bigs, you got to be a little bit careful there. If we get Missy in, I like Missy. That price point's just too cheap. Javonte Green's priced right. I still think Trey Murphy's just way too cheap at 6.4K. So pretty high on Trey Murphy quite a bit. And then, yeah, you guys know I always love Brendan Ingram with the team to himself. All right, moving on to the Pacers, going up against the Pels. Nembhard, Shep, and Nesmith going to remain out for this one. Quentin Jackson has been starting, been playing low 20s minutes. I think he's a reasonable value for the slate. T.J. McConnell should see low 20s minutes. I think he's more priced right, but playable. And yeah, Halliburton at 8-1 once again seems way too cheap to me. I know he's been awful, but yeah, way too cheap. Really like Halliburton. Siakam's fine at 7-1. Miles Turner's in a great spot going up against the Pelicans. I like his ceiling quite a bit. Benedict Mathurin just playing huge minutes, super safe play in the mid-range. And then we kind of went over the value there. Let's move on to Toronto. So yeah, with Scotty Barnes back, I have a tough time getting to much here. I think Scotty Barnes is way too cheap. He's basically their point guard right now, so he's stuffing the stat sheet, doing everything for this team. Good spot here going up against Detroit as well. So main interest here is just like I like Scotty Barnes quite a bit. I still think RJ Barrett's priced right, and then Jakob Poeltl I think is getting to the price point to where he should be. Like, why is Jakob Poeltl at 8K, but we have Zubac at what, 7K? How does that make any sense? I don't know. I'm not playing any of that Toronto value. Moving on to Detroit, Cade is doubtful once again, so I'm very, very high on the Detroit main guys. We have Ozar Thompson back, so that's going to hurt like Tim Hardaway Jr. quite a bit. I would expect Thompson to come off the bench, though, and be on some type of limit. Just keep an eye on that. And then, yeah, they started what I thought they'd start, Malik Beasley, and they slid Jaden Ivey to the point. So, yeah, great spot here going up against Toronto. I really like Jaden Ivey at 6.8K, just way too cheap. Gonna have the ball in his hands a ton. Really like Ivey. I mean, what they're doing with Duren is just despicable. Always in foul trouble. They're trolling his minutes, but if you get that game where he plays like 30 minutes in this spot going up against Toronto, I like him quite a bit in GPPs. We'll talk about Goga in a minute. Tobias Harris seems too cheap at 6.2K. I think he's very, very safe in the mid-range. Malik Beasley, I like his ceiling quite a bit in GPPs. Isaiah Stewart smashed off the bench last game. Then Tim Hardaway Jr. is playable, but Ozzer being back definitely hurts him. All right, last game of the night here, guys. I think Franz is just too cheap with his usage rate now. He's playing basically the point guard for this team right now, playing 40 minutes in competitive games. I still think he's too cheap. I love some Franz tomorrow. I think Suggs is decent too, but I always just prefer getting up to Franz. And yeah, keep an eye on Wendell Jr. If he's in, both the bigs are out of play for me. I would expect Wendell Jr. to be on some type of limit. If Wendell Jr. is out and if no one wants to play Goga tomorrow because of the foul trouble risk and them trolling his minutes in this matchup going up against Charlotte, I'm going to be all over that in GPPs. So if Goga is chalky tomorrow, I think you can make the argument to fade just because the range of outcomes with him. But if no one wants him tomorrow because of those reasons, I would love Goga in GPPs, only if Wendell Jr. is out. Jonathan Isaac should see around 20 minutes. He's a fine contrarian value. I'm not going to play KCP. I'm not going to play TDS. And yeah, this team, they're going to be thin. They're going to have 8 guys, or not 8 guys, but they're going to run an 8-man rotation here. LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Musa, Cody Martin, Josh Green, Saloon, Midget, Taj Gibson. That's going to be the rotation. Could they add someone else? Sure, they could. But that's going to be the main 8. They're going to have to play their guys huge minutes here. So with that being said, I think LaMelo is a really good spend up. Brandon Miller, the Wombo combo here with Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball is just dominating the usage. So I like both the top 2 guys here. Musa, going to have to play all the minutes he can handle tomorrow with no Graham Williams. He looks great. Really like him. I even think these value plays. Cody Martin probably moves into the starting lineup, or they could start like a Sloan, but he looks like a really good value. Josh Green, I don't even mind at 3.8K. Like him quite a bit. Saloon gets a bump. He's playable at 3.3. You could see a little bit more Mitchell, I suppose, but more of a large field GPP dart. And you couldn't pay me to play a guy like Taj Gibson. So, yeah, that's going to do it for the slate, guys. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic Sunday. Go Eagles, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow.